and they had like a cool mom who like smoked weed.
It is maybe the only social media ecosystem that actually is self-regulating because your boss is watching.
The kid like gets a prostitute or something like that. The pimp shows up.
Shut up, nerd.
Are we not doing any of this for art?
The second I'm seeing you in a week.
I know, we're doing 2 in a week.
Yeah,
because
previously it was weeks sometimes in between.
Yeah, I know. It's just because of all my touring.
Yeah.
I got back on Saturday and I leave. No, I got back on Sunday and I leave Saturday. And this is the last like big end of year push, which is nice. Yeah. And last night did a little comedy club holiday Christmas party.
Oh yeah, how was that? Was
nice,
that comedy
really
store?
Fun. Improv.
Oh, improv.
Sunday was the Comedy Store one, and I was flying in, and I just wanted to spend time with significant other, see Chutch. And now, yeah, and last night I went, and it was fun, and it was the perfect. I went in the building once to get a bottle of water at the end of the night to take it to leave. The whole rest of the time, it was like 50 degrees out, and I just stood on the patio and bullshitted with people for 2.5, 3 hours and then left. And I talked only to the people who I really wanted to talk to, like actual friends, like people I wanted to see, and then dipped. It was perfect.
It was at the Improv?
It was at the Improv.
That's fun. I've gone to one comedy, two, maybe, one, at least one, I know, comedy theater holiday party, which was when I was very involved at UCB. I went to their holiday party. And I'd be very curious what the difference is between a stand-up holiday party and an improv holiday party. I think mine is the one I went to was probably way dorkier.
It's a lot of like shocking amount of biz talk.
Sure.
Like just everyone trying to figure out what this new landscape is.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people just being like, I don't know what to do. You know?
Was there a consensus? Do you feel like everyone had, like there's like themes?
It's fun to watch different people who have very different careers talk about what's happening in their world. So like I have a friend Dan, and last year he had like 6 TV shows in development, which is an insane amount, maybe more.
One in development right now, it feels.
Yeah, and like he's doing a movie with a big movie star, comedy guy too, and he was like, I'm done doing stuff for other people. I'm doing this movie with this guy I like, and I'm going to pitch this TV show with a friend who I want to help a friend out. And just kind of like that centering kind of thing. And then I talked to like my other friend, and she's just rocket ship in the past year of like, she went from like being like quit her day job to like can almost sell out theaters now.
Wow.
In a year.
Do you feel comfortable sharing a name, or is this
Leslie Liao?
I don't even know the name.
Yeah, and like she's great. She's such a good comedian, and she's so much fun. And I met her 2 years ago, and we met at the same show. I met my therapist, and it was the same time I like set up my like Bumble date to go out with my now fiance.
Wow.
So like both, and now she was working in like HR at Netflix and was secretly doing stand up on the side.
Sure.
And then she became like, she got a spot on the Netflix stand-up show and then like quit and did the Tonight Show and then quit like all in the same week.
You know what's so great about that is that it's an LA Hollywood story. That's how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Is you're supposed to like, if you work inside the industry, there should be a cool moment where you transition from being like the bowels of it to like actually like being on the stage of it.
Yeah.
And it just feels like that's harder and harder to. I hear less and less of those stories.
Oh yeah.
I guess
my New York version of that, the New York, because there is no like biz in New York.
It's
very like barely around,
ancillary, and it was very network TV based.
Yeah. Like mine was like I was a dog walker until I was traveling on the road too much, so my boss fired me, and then I was just a full-time stand-up comedian.
Oh, so you just kind of got like shoved into it.
Yeah, I called him up to be like, hey, I'm going to go on the road for another 2 weeks. And like on the phone, he was like, I'm actually interviewing somebody right now to take your job. And I was like, perfect. I was like, I'm going to just go stay on the road. Good luck with the dogs. Talk to you later.
Oh my God. When I was working at Comedy Central, there were 2 folks that I know of who...
Jesse Klein.
Oh, 3 folks that I that's right. 3 folks that I know of who came through Comedy Central and ended up being pretty successful. One is John Mulaney.
Heard of him?
Yeah, doing well. And I'm pretty sure Seth Meyers, too.
Really?
I vaguely remember someone saying they worked with Seth Meyers back when he was just like a puppy.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
And
Jesse Klein, was doing development. I think the time that I
Yeah.
was working there, but development and on-air promos were
light years apart.
yeah, and they're going to talk to us. What the fuck do they want to What is Jesse Klein, stand-up comedian and development exec, going to talk to like a 2-year junior graphic designer for? Not really on her radar.
Should have been though.
Yeah, that's her mistake.
Yeah.
Jesse Klein.
You could have had this.
You could be in a garage right now.
People, yeah, we're in this barn garage. Yeah, so just Christmas parties in general. It's funny too because in comedy, like you were saying, like I'm sure the UCB one is pretty unbearable. But at
the time of my life, I loved it because I felt like when we first hung out and met, we were talking about the sort of like validation of a larger community.
It's very nice,
and I felt like, I'm like getting drunk on the stage at UCB Franklin. When the theater's closed, I must belong somewhere.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah, there's always that weird part in the beginning when you're starting out. You're like, am I allowed to go to this party? So with all the comedy clubs, like the Comedy Stores was Sunday, and the Comedy Stores is a bit more locked down. It's like door guys, paid regulars, friends and family, people who are like close.
This is a friends. UC was a friends and family because I was on a video sketch team, which were like the losers of the sketch world they had. But
in retrospect, are the only ones with the skills to make it in this modern world.
Oh my god, yes! I have very little stage performance skills, and I don't own any wigs. But I mean, like we built this entire thing.
You. I did none of this. I showed up and
I hammered these together. I bought the lumber. I made this theater flats.
You made our mood board light.
I made those. Yeah, I did.
He hand painted that.
I had the cameras. We figured all this shit out because you figure it out.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
No.
The locked door is the inside of it all.
Yeah, so the Comedy Store is like a little bit more like, the West Side one is kind of cool because it's much smaller and it's like mosely comedians who live on the West Side.
Sure.
You know? And then the Improv one is kind of like a free-for-all. It's just like you'll like last night I saw Adam Devine and then there was a kid who like jokingly told the booker of the Hollywood Improv to like hurry up with the lighter she was borrowing to light a cigarette. And then when she walked away, like me and one of the other regulars were like laughing about it. And he was like, why? Who was that? And we were like, the lady who runs this whole place. And he was like, she thought that was funny, right? So it's like all levels.
Sure. God.
But for the most part, I avoided most of the levels, and it was like nice conversation with Wayne Fetterman about the doc he's making with Judd Apatow on Mel Brooks.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And they're doing one with Norm Macdonald too. So that's cool.
Wow.
So we like talked about that. I talked to Leslie about how I haven't seen her in a year and how her life is totally different. And we talked about the like nicheness of touring and like how to like maintain your energy and go out and see stuff and like have a life while being touring, so you're not just hotel, workout, coffee. And then caught up with my buddy Forrest Shaw and talked about like movies, writing a little bit. Dan and my friend Dan Levy about like all what he's trying to do next year. My buddy John Hastings, who's like one of my groomsmen in my wedding, and like the whole. So like I went there to catch up with John. Forrest was there, one of my best buds. Leslie, haven't seen in a year. Dan's one of my good friends. It was like the perfect talk to like this really nice guy who's like a touring agent. We talked about like how that's changing and how all of social media is affecting the touring business and how nobody really knows what's bringing people to shows. It was cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
That sounds really nice. And also reconnecting with your industry. I think this is, was I talking with you about this? Who was I talking to about this? That like with comedy, I swear, this must have been a conversation we had because the number of real life human beings I speak to in a physical space are now like limited to like 3 people.
You, your wife, and your child.
That's pretty much it, honestly. Yeah.
Other dads at drop off.
I talked to Amanda, whose daughter Mimi is adorable, for 6.5 sentences this morning. No, talking about with comedy, there's at least like a place everyone can go to. No, I was talking to a musician. I'm sorry. I was talking to a musician, a guy who just moved here from Nashville. How like we were comparing comedy and design and designers and musicians, these sort of like creative careers.
Pockets.
Yeah, and that, like with musicians, you can be part of a larger industry and comedy part of a larger industry, but at the end of the day, you do show up together in a physical space and like talk and work together, or like you all agree that there's a centralized location of this. Rarely ever do like graphic designers get together and be like, hey man, you want to like fucking fire up some Photoshop?
Chat PDFs.
Yeah, I mean, like you or just work together in silence for 8 hours. It doesn't happen the way design as a graphic designer. It's a very solitary thing,
and I'm sure even more now since it's becoming more freelance.
It's been freelance for a while, but the remoteness of it, which is great for a working dad. But like, I don't have like I have great coworkers, but I've met them in person once.
Yeah, which also is probably part of why the online culture has grown so much in that space, because of the fact that like it's like you got to go somewhere to find out what's happening.
You're absolutely right.
Like
we're gonna convene in somehow.
Yeah, in comedy, you can go to the comedy club and just kind of, or go to a show and like go to some weird bar show and like see what the next generation of kids are doing, or you can see like what are the guys who've gotten famous who are kind of resting on their laurels are doing as they're like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
You can see any night of the week. You can kind of go out and see what possible future you can have, and you can see what's coming up behind you.
What a interesting way of putting that. Yeah. I mean, the design. It's LinkedIn. That's what we have. That's
that is such a bummer.
It really fucking sucks.
Because my fiance is a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Probably by the time this airs, my wife is a lawyer, right? And so she like occasionally she does a lot of LinkedIn because she doesn't have social media on her phone. So she'll show me like what like LinkedIn content is. Like she'll show me LinkedIn content.
It's a bummer.
It is, and it's like business. It's like people trying to do like funny business reels, like corporate comedy kind of stuff. And it's like I have yet to see one that didn't make my heart hurt. And she pulls them up all the time, and like when I see them, I'm just like, just go be an artist. You're making this because you want to create art stuff. Like, why do you want to be this for HR? You know what I mean? Like, I understand you wanting to do this because you did comedy, graphic design, like art design. It's all the same to me and you, I think. It's all just part of art. Like the collage of it, like the texture, the visual, like some of these things are very funny. Some are not so funny.
Yeah.
But they all like resonate to us. But like to be like making weird
HR memes.
Memes is like,
it's a weird choice.
I get there's a great meme page.
Everyone deserves memes.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
There's a great meme page. It's probably my favorite one, and it's called Fucking Sober, and it's all sobriety memes. It's just all about being in sobriety, in recovery, in 12-step, and they're great. And I talked to the dude once through Instagram. He was going to come to my show in Antwerp because he lives in like Belgium.
Wow.
Yeah. And but he couldn't come, which was such a bummer. But like I get the idea of like meme culture for office life, because most people work.
There was a very successful sitcom. Based
What's
on
it called?
that was called Cheers.
Oh, yeah. I love Cheers. I actually do love Cheers. I think that's maybe the greatest sitcom. Top 3.
I will do an entire episode about like Larry Gelbart and the trajectory of Cheers to Frasier, because I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with both shows as a continuum. Sorry.
And now what about the third one?
I have not watched the new Frasier.
Oh man, it's the flip. It's really smart. It's now he's the dad living with the son, and the son is a blue collar fireman. Yeah, it's Frasier.
It still works?
It still works.
Okay. I'm very resistant to it.
Yeah. But like it still holds up.
Yeah. Anyway, sober memes.
So and similar, like I get the need for like office memes, like Denise in the break room fucking smells like pickles, whatever it is you guys do in your offices.
Dismissive that it's like, I don't know, you guys talk about people's smell. Also, there's no break rooms anymore.
Oh, no?
Everyone eats lunch at their desk.
Yeah. Because you have to work through for the corporate cog.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I get that. But like making video content for it is like so hard. It's heartbreaking to me because you're like, to me, it's like
you were so close.
You were so close to just getting out. And also, not only that, like, why are you making this thing it feels like it's like it seems like it's more to help corporations than to be creative.
It can skew that way, especially on LinkedIn. I'm not going to name names, but there are some like hustle culture design bros that thrive on LinkedIn. And at first blush have like good advice, and then you realize that it is just like they're all kind of part of this like Ponzi scheme of like
selling classes.
Yes,
selling classes is the Gen Z Gordon Gekko. It's just all the Gen Z. It's like hustle culture is bullshit. It's just 80s culture in fucking Instagram filters. That's it. It's just like fake try to get rich shit. I'm going to teach you how to have a class to sell classes on how to teach classes.
Yes.
I fucking hate it.
You're totally right with the Gordon Gekko stuff, because it is greed is good with this veneer of like social justice in a weird way, or like helping somehow.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is still, we're all just selling the same garbage back to each other.
Yeah, and it's like, let me teach you how to make videos so that you can teach people how to make videos. It's like, are we not doing any of this for art?
or just like, or even taking art out of like the end goal of just like why make it? What is what am I trying to say? There's so much. Okay, here's a perfect example. I don't know if it's just like the algorithm is skewed to me, but like building this whole thing, there's a lot of research I had to do. A lot of research happens on YouTube. There is so many people who are like, I'm a filmmaker. I love making films. I'm obsessed with films. My entire YouTube channel is to teach you how to use this microphone or use this light. There's so much. Like,
there are some of those people I love.
Well, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. None of it's making films.
Yeah, a lot of it's just like, it's like gear jerk off
and well shot. Like vlogs that all look like the same soulless thing. It's like, we got the purple light behind me, we got this thing. It's like,
and then just like vague observations about the creative process. Like, sometimes it'd be hard.
So, yeah. But there are some people who are really good at it, and they have such a style, and they shoot vlog stuff that's like day in the life. That's that kind of stuff. And I'd rather watch someone shoot something and like 8 of their videos are like them making cappuccinos shot really well, and then the one video on like, this is how I do it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good point. I would rather see how you make your take on things rather than like, here are 7 things that you're doing wrong as a creator.
But like, there's a like, at what point it's like, because I'm about to go down that rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
I'm changing the style in which I like put up most of my videos on Instagram, and I don't call them content. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not looking at them as like reels. I'm trying to look at them as short films. You know what I mean? Like Spalding Gray. I'm thinking of like Spalding Gray, Eric Bogosian, like all these cool different things.
Huge on Instagram, both of them.
Are they really?
No.
I wouldn't be shocked if
Bogosian heads on Instagram.
I wouldn't be shocked if there was like a weird little rabbit hole of Spalding Gray on Instagram.
It's
like
gotta be
little
out there somewhere
clips from his things. If not, somebody start doing that. Go rip all the great Spalding Gray one acts. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking about those kinds of things, or like This American Life. Like, how do you make stuff that feels more like a short film and more like 80s, 90s, like those like MTV interstitials and stuff like that were like, had fucking fat and flavor.
Yeah.
Instead of all these things that were like, this is how you shoot this style of video. Like, I love this setup. I love how all of this looks. I fucking love it. And then mine that I'm doing with my wife, I'm like making it look like a weird 70s movie theater kind of thing, you know, like darker lit, like, so kind of the opposite of this with like weird lights behind us. And just because I want it to feel like cinema.
Sure.
Not like derivative content, which all of that business LinkedIn shit looks like. It all just looks like derivative, and they sand every edge of it off for corporateness that it sucks.
And that, I mean, I guess that's the point. I mean, there's a reason I think that there's not a lot of like canceling happening on LinkedIn, because it is maybe the only social media ecosystem that actually is self-regulating. because your boss is watching.
And it's connected to your paycheck.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Where every single platform like can really easily go so toxic to the point where the police need to be involved. It's not going to happen on LinkedIn because the most you'll get is like a lightly racist comment that is like thinly veiled.
Yeah.
At least it's veiled, you know. That's the worst it's going to get, and it's going to get like the algorithm will not promote it, and it doesn't happen that much anyway. It is like when people complain about like how toxic these platforms can get, like the defense of LinkedIn is like, this is how it works and it's boring. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I'm defending LinkedIn now, which I've done videos for my Instagram that I've posted on LinkedIn that have done very well on LinkedIn.
I bet your shit crushes because it has soul.
Yeah, and the bar is so very, very low.
Yeah.
And
I literally think if we just
I love a low bar.
If we
love a low
this
bar
section out and just put this on LinkedIn, it would do well.
I mean,
because people would be like, hot takes.
Yes.
Talking shit.
This stuff is going to go on LinkedIn for sure.
Stinks like pickles.
Denise, you're on watch. We're already at 20 minutes here. I had
let's do your news thing.
Well, we'll do this really quick. This is kind of LinkedIn related. I feel like it's
funny.
I think because I learned about it on LinkedIn. Actually, there's some decent newsy related things get pushed on my little tweet on the top right. Worth mentioning that BuzzFeed just sold off Hot Ones for $82.5 million.
What?
To a group of investors that Sean Evans is a part of.
Yeah.
And also is part of the George Soros like investment portfolio. But BuzzFeed was like $140 million in debt, something like that. And they bought Hot Ones for however much a few years ago and just sold it for 82.
So knock out half of their debt.
Yeah. And Jonah Peretti, like there's a good quote, something along the lines of like, it's positioning us to embrace the future of AI. Which is like, it was slop already. And now they're really just leaning into it being
they're just going to have AI make lists?
Well, it's already doing it.
Oh, really?
AI is already writing most BuzzFeed things, but they talk about like sanding the edges off. Like Hot Ones was literally the only spicy thing they had in their portfolio, and now they've cut it off. And I think the reason I just wanted to talk about it was just like I used to work at BuzzFeed, so it's Schadenfreude for me, absolutely. But just like Hot Ones, the cultural purchase of Hot Ones, major celebrities have to go through Hot Ones now. And I just like, we grew up in like the war for late night, like Jay Leno.
It's over.
Letterman. These were we talked about like cornerstones of the monoculture.
Yeah, and now a Hot Ones can bring your career back.
Yes.
Like Conan's Hot Ones, like Conan's now, I think he's hosting the Oscars because of the Hot Ones, I think.
It's incredible.
And not like Conan really, his podcast is a huge hit, but like it hits corners that you might not be activated, if that makes sense. It's to speak corporate.
It can sort of like youth wash somebody.
Yeah.
Which is so...
I can't wait to watch Mel Brooks on Hot Ones.
It's like 102. He would be great. I would love to watch it. It's just I guess for where I'm coming from, what I wanted to talk about is that I had so much affection for like someone in a suit at a studio audience with like a desk. Like I really fell in love with the late night format.
Absolutely love it.
And format, yes, but I'm realizing also just like the vibe of it.
Yeah,
I loved, you
don't need to tell me that you also had the Dick Cavett DVDs at some point in your life.
I mean, there was definitely
stream them.
There was I definitely went through a Dick Cavett phase.
We all do.
Where it's similar to our New Yorkers, where like I watched a few minutes and they're like, well, I'm not going to do 45 minutes of this.
Oh, I've watched every episode of Dick Cavett. It's like, I want to see fucking Alfred Hitchcock be weird for 45 minutes.
There's a lot of quiet moments.
Yeah.
In the conversations.
Oh my God. It's slower than NPR.
Holy cow.
And it's also funny to me that like Dick Cavett was considered funny.
Bizarre.
He was a comedy writer and got that show because he was a comedy writer. And it's like somewhat thoughtful conversations.
Yes.
Like it's interesting.
I mean, the first podcast.
But it's kind of the first podcast. But also the other kind of crazy thing about it is it's like access to celebrity was so limited then that to have a 45-minute conversation with John Lennon and Yoko Ono was like, holy shit, we got to watch this.
It's true.
And like, because everyone wasn't like in a world where they needed to be on all the time, like they were just, you kind of felt the peopleness of them.
Yeah.
In the long form conversation.
Okay, I can't believe I'm about to do this, but if there's anything that connects Dick Cavett and Hot Ones, it is the fact that, okay, so prior to like the celebrity industrial complex,
yes,
which Dick Cavett could just get someone to talk for relaxed for 45 minutes to an hour, like clearly we are like, it is like hyperspeed interviews now.
Yeah,
and
you
everyone
get 6 minutes on the late night sofa at most,
and everyone
in and out.
Has their PR training.
I've written jokes and stories for celebrities to tell on the sofa.
See, and what Hot Ones does is that it short circuits the entire thing because they're in pain and you can't be really on.
Yeah,
and it does a good job of that.
Yeah,
and like I actually really, I don't watch Hot Ones regularly. It's only if a guest that I'm familiar with, but it's just a funny thing for me, I guess, just me personally recognize like how huge this thing is, and I don't like late night shows still at least have some sort of influence.
100%.
But
Tonight Show still has cachet. Colbert is like fun.
SNL
still got it.
Still love SNL.
SNL is kind of like a great rock band.
Yeah,
because of the fact that like
it's no joke that the Stones are always on.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing though. Everyone, like Lauren will die up there.
100%, and it's still rock and roll.
Yeah,
it's still cool because it stays young. They get new people in it. They take a new edge. So like it never feels too out of step. And sometimes feels a step ahead still.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Of culture.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that Sarah Sherman.
I know, it's weird calling it Sarah Sherman.
It's weird calling her Sarah Sherman. Is like on that show is like, that's the most punk rock thing they've done in years.
It feels like such a coup. It feels like such a transgressive, like, and we snuck one of the weirdos on.
And she's a killer. Dude, I worked
right out the gate. She was killing.
I worked in a writer's room with her, and it was just one of the best hangs ever. Because she's just such a good, sweet, funny person.
Long Island's own.
Yeah,
could not be more proud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Hot Ones. BuzzFeed is getting a chunk of change in their pocket. They will continue to lay off more and more people and replace them with robots. And Sean Evans continues to. Is Sean Evans talented?
The host?
Yeah. He's a good interviewer.
He's a good interviewer, which is a really hard skill.
Yeah, while eating spicy chicken wings.
Yeah.
He's figured something out.
Big time.
And the fact that it keeps, like, this show keeps getting bought and sold and he keeps winning out of it is...
But also he should. It's his.
Absolutely. It's absolutely his, but the fact that he, like, it has not just been... sanded away, or he's just been paid to go away, or just sort of like the amount of people I knew at BuzzFeed alone who were successful, but too successful for BuzzFeed's comfort.
Quinta.
Wait, can I tell my Quinta story?
Yeah.
I mean, like it kind of ruins the punchline because we're already talking about her, but it's my first week or two at BuzzFeed, and it's just like crammed desks everywhere. It's shared open office space.
Least good environment for creative work.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I'm at a long desk, and there's the computers facing this way, computers facing that way, and on the other side, I'm on my computer. On the other side is this guy is Justin Tan, who was at BuzzFeed for a while, and I think he was actually writing on Abbott Elementary, and there's a new hire. She had like some popular Vine series, and I didn't know who this young one was. And he's sitting there teaching her Adobe Premiere, and this young woman seems completely uninterested. And this is the lesson I'm learning from the preloading is that like I am wrong about everything all the time, because this woman could not give a shit about learning Premiere, and my thought is like, this poor little thing. She can't even get on board with editing. She's not going to make it in this business. I wish her the best, but like she's really screwing herself. And of course that was Quinta Brunson, and she just like I'm not even gonna say skyrocketed, because it seemed like she casually walked her way into success. That was just like
everyone was just
a
like
quinta-sized like door that was waiting for her the entire time.
100%. She knew. That's the thing. Sometimes people just know exactly what they want to do, and everyone can see it, and everyone's just like, right this way.
I do want.
I remember seeing that for Michael Che. I remember the Michael Che rocket ship taking off. I remember being at our Just for Laughs audition, Che putting his arm around me as some guy's bombing, and he goes, aren't you happy we're not comics like this? And then like they didn't give him Just for Laughs that year. He got the SNL writing job. He left SNL to go be an anchor on The Daily Show, went back to SNL to do Update, all within the course of that year.
Oh my God.
And then they offered him New Faces, and he was like, no, I'm good.
God.
And then they were like, you want your own gala? And he was like, sure. Like, I saw it because he just knew. He knew he was like, this step, this step, this step. It was like Letterman, SNL writing job, Daily Show correspondent for like 4 weeks.
I don't even
Weekend
remember
Update.
him on The Daily Show.
Yeah, he was a correspondent on The Daily Show for like maybe a month, 2 months,
Holy
3 months,
cow.
something like that. And then SNL hired him back to be Update.
Here's my question. Does he know how to use Adobe Premiere?
Probably, actually. Yeah. He's an art school kid.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
That's good. Good for him. I love hearing art school kids succeeding.
Yeah.
Should we get to today's board?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Speaking of SNL being rock and roll, I think this is the most, I think this is like the greatest, maybe the most rock and roll band of all time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the board this week is the band and the band cinematic universe, right? And the band is like the center of the spider web, and it goes out in every direction, and they've kind of changed rock and roll. And at the same time, like, they're kind of forgotten. They're known for one song, but their catalog's incredible. And I think they were the coolest rock band of all time. And I think if they didn't break up, they would have been as popular as the Grateful Dead is. Also, here is my question.
Yeah.
So this is about the documentary The Last Waltz.
Yeah.
Did you like this?
That is a great question, because number one, I want to go in saying the band is a huge blind spot for me.
Great.
I know that they were a band, and I think in my head I also confused them with The Who just because of their band names. Yeah, with also like the vague way to talk about the thing. I don't know if I like this. I genuinely don't know.
Okay.
I
thought about this on the drive here to be like, I wonder if Jesse liked this, because I found this at the perfect age. I found this in my early 20s, 1920s. This is kind of a perfect band to find when you're that age and you're searching out everything. And you watch this movie at 20 and there's 15 different rabbit holes you can go down of different musicians that you're like, oh, who the hell is this? Now I'm getting into Dr. John.
Okay, I completely see that. I see. Okay, I'm gonna say it did not resonate with me. The music itself, I'm not gonna lie, I find kind of dull.
Oh wow!
It doesn't really. This entire classic rock thing, is like a massive blind spot for me. And bands from like boomer bands like this, I really have to find a way in.
For sure.
It does not come to me easily. Something I'm incredibly embarrassed to admit. This is I got into the Beatles like 2.5 years ago.
What?
Yes.
How? What? Do your parents not have music?
Yes and no. My dad my dad loves music, but if you ask my dad what his favorite song of all time is, I'm pretty sure he will say Whitney Houston singing the Star Spangled Banner.
We talked about this once before.
Was it on our early podcast?
I don't know if it was on one of the early episodes.
We talked about this.
Yeah, but we did.
So, and we're like, my dad went through a Sinatra phase.
Yeah.
And my mom loved the Beatles, but it was not like
It wasn't
music in the
See,
house.
I grew up in a music in the house kind of house. Like, and I grew up with my dad listening to everything from like doo-wop, Frank Sinatra, like golden oldies to like this kind of stuff that was like the rock music of his youth, you know? A lot of Springsteen, a lot of Joel. But these guys were really on my dad's radar, and they weren't like a band that I grew up with. I found Bob Dylan, when I was like probably like 17 to 19, and I was like all in, and this was just something that was kind of Dylan adjacent for me. And I was also a film nerd, so the way I found this was I bought a Martin Scorsese box set, which actually this is I don't know what I just did.
Oh, just click.
Oh, okay, do I do the green to make it big?
Oh, no, you just click the actual thing. I think you might have. Yeah,
okay, cool. So where is it? Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm pulling things around. There we go.
Yeah.
I got, where is it? There it is. Plus, minus. Plus. So I got this arrow. I got this Martin Scorsese box set back when you would get box sets of DVDs. And you remember when box sets of DVDs, you'd have like 2 DVDs you actually wanted in it and one thing that was kind of shit?
Yeah.
So that was this box set, right? Okay. So this was an early DVD box set of Martin Scorsese's that had Boxcar Bertha, which was Martin Scorsese's first movie. Never
even heard of it.
Exactly. New York, which was his biggest bomb of all time. Then The Last Waltz, which I was like, oh, I kind of know that. And then a Raging Bull double feature. But when you're like a double like special edition, when you're like that young and you're like, I'm trying to be a cinema guy, Martin Scorsese's like the first stop.
Yeah, and for a lot of folks, the last stop. Kind of the entire ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially prior to the Spike Jonze, Chris Cunningham, Michelle Gondry DVDs.
100%.
It was just like the world could really just kind of end with Scorsese. But then these music video directors.
And you know that Scorsese's taking something from everything old world film.
Yeah.
And like all the young guys that you love are drawing from Scorsese.
Yeah. And Tarantino. Tarantino's the other side of that coin.
Yes. They're both like, they're like California, New York version.
Totally.
So I got that, and I know I watched the documentary, but I don't remember loving the documentary. I just remember having it, maybe watched it once or twice. And then there was a Thanksgiving. You know when you're like living with a bunch of other 20-year-olds and someone's mom flew into town and they had like a cool mom who like smoked weed and she like cooked Thanksgiving dinner for all of us, and we had this giant big screen TV. Remember the old big screens that came with like the box on the bottom? It was the thing shooting.
Now you only see them on the side of the road.
Yes, and it was like after those were like flat screens were out, but somebody like brought that from their parents' house, and it just ended up in our house because we had the biggest house and they couldn't fit it in their house. So we had a giant big screen TV in our living room.
Amazing.
And we had this massive giant like cheap Chicago apartment, and somebody put that on because it takes place on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And so they put it on, and it just became my Thanksgiving movie, and it's burnt into my memory as that period in my life.
God, that's funny. The Thanksgiving part for some reason helps. I don't know why. Yeah. There's something homey about this
film.
There's something comforting and cozy about it. God, that's interesting. There's something, you're making me realize that like, because it's such a family gathering, this doc.
Yes.
Of like everyone's at the table maybe one last time, you know?
Yeah.
And but I don't really know anybody. So it feels a little bit like, I don't know these fucking people.
100%.
What am I doing here?
So this is a perfect time to do one of my games.
Okay.
Which is of the guest stars, of the people who aren't in the band, who do you think was, give me your top 3. Best
in what sense?
Performances that you thought were the best. You can start at the bottom and work your way to the top.
Oh man!
If you had to pick 3.
Okay. I think I have 2 locked in. Okay. 3. Number 3 for me is Van Morrison.
Also my 3.
I I'm realizing I didn't really have a sense of what Van Morrison even looked like.
This is one of my favorite things. So Chutch, my wife, came home while I was watching the documentary, and she sat down on the couch as the Van Morrison part's coming on. And if you don't know, this is Van Morrison in the documentary. Is this right?
Yeah.
And so
I'm like, is this Meatloaf? Like,
yes, he's giving Meatloaf.
Yeah.
But it's also crazy because my Chutch was like, is he gay? Because it's also giving Elton John.
Oh, totally.
And she was like, I do not get it. He's wearing like a purple jacket with rhinestones. He's doing like high kicks. And then there's this like leather crotch kind of thing, or not crotch, but like this, like open.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna pause you. I'm just realizing for some reason
this is all you need to know. This high kick. Look at this this is his whole vibe. And the performance is stellar. And the whole time you're watching it, you're like, what is happening? He's he's got so much hair and no hair at the same time.
Yeah.
He's got this like squat alcoholic's body, but these tiny little legs. I mean, honestly, this is the guy in the video, in the whole documentary I look the most like body type wise. So I relate, you know? And it's incredible. And he has just, the show kind of builds, I think. And I think he just has this kind of knockout performance in it. And the whole time, she was just like, who is this? And I was like, this is Van Morrison. This is the brown-eyed girls guy.
I don't know why I thought Van Morrison was like a little bit more of a mysterious kind of dude. Because he has...
Because Astro Weeks.
What is that?
This is what I'm talking about. This is how it's a web. So Astro Weeks is the greatest Van Morrison album of all time. And it's this kind of like...
I don't know. I really don't know anything you're going to mention.
But you do know Astro Weeks because I know you know Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And that's in it. So it's like, that's the album of his that's like the album. And he's this Irish R&B's blues singer.
Is he from Ireland?
Yeah. He's 100% Irish. So this is like this weird, like... It's interesting because him and Clapton are both these guys who are white guys doing black music.
Yeah.
But they love it so much that it doesn't feel like culture vulture shit. It's like pure admiration. And they're not doing it because they're like trying to be it. They're like, this is the only thing in the world I think about.
Sure.
And they're so good at it. So, okay, that's your number...
that was number 3.
3.
I think number 2 was Dr. John.
Oh, wow. Okay, Dr. John's not in my top 3, but I love Dr. John, and Dr. John was like, how did I miss this?
Yeah.
Dr. John was how do I not know who this is?
That's how I felt. I mean, a lot of these people, when they came out, I had to like Google like, who is playing right now?
And also, if you don't know who Dr. John is, he's this fucking guy, Mac Revenack, Dr. John. And the incredible thing is, every one of these people has their own... If this was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Dr. John story is an incredible
Has his own trilogy.
It's insane. Dr. John is a New Orleans musician who was a guitar virtuoso, right? And he went out on tour and he took this young kid with him on tour, right? And the kid's mom's like, hey, just do me a favor, whatever you do, watch after my son on tour. And like the second or third night into the tour, the kid like gets a prostitute or something like that. The pimp shows up. The pimp goes to shoot the kid. Dr. John puts his hand in the way and blows off one of Dr. John's fingers.
Get the fuck out.
I swear to God. And so Dr. John has to do something else with his life. He gets like super bummed out and he becomes this like piano guy and creates the whole like Dr. John, New Orleans, like voodoo, jazz, rock kind of thing.
Looking at photos of him on like Google image search, like there's something very weird showed up, which felt like a little Tom Waits adjacent.
Oh yeah, he's New Orleans. He's like New Orleans Tom Waits. You know what I mean?
But Tom Waits is also kind of New Orleans-y.
Yeah,
isn't he?
He's in Down by Law, which is one of my favorite Jim Jarmusch movies of all time. And so I feel like he kind of borrows from, and he creates these like this like scene, and he creates these like concept albums in the beginning, and then kind of takes the concept album idea and just makes it who he is.
Amazing.
So every one of these people kind of has that kind of story. Also, Dr. John, one of the great outfits of this.
Oh, truly.
Like beret, because he's comes from the French part. Like the ruffled shirt, the pink tie. It's like,
and are those like little roses on
the jacket? Yeah,
yeah.
It's so sick.
And his voice is really interesting.
It's amazing.
He really, again, I knew nothing about him, and he really stuck out to me.
Because it's a genuine New Orleans accent. Like, I don't know if you've ever hung out with people from Louisiana. They sound crazy in the best way possible. It's one of my all-time favorite accents, the Creole accent.
Huh.
And yeah. Okay, so who is your number one?
I'm going to say this is going to sound like it's because, like, I was a fan, so I put it in there. But honestly, it was Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell is my number two, and you are 100%. It's a great call. Joni Mitchell kind of steals the show in this Rough and Tumble Boys Club doc.
Oh my God.
She walks out and she's just like
radiant.
Dressed
like simply and gorgeously.
This will be part of the next game that we play.
She's just like, she glows.
100%.
And again, I barely know Joni Mitchell. She's one of the folks that I feel
and
like,
this is
I should
later
fucking get on top of Joni Mitchell.
And this is later Joni Mitchell. This isn't like the Blue or Parking Lot. This is like a little deeper in the discography Joni Mitchell.
And I didn't realize how talky her music is.
It's such a good like sing-songy story.
I really had no idea.
It's like up there with Bob Dylan's Hurricane is like, this is a story that's a song that's going to sear your like.
Am I allowed to tell you right now that I like Bob Dylan is a major blind spot for me?
I am your Bob Dylan Sherpa, my friend. Dylan is my guy.
Okay, wait. I want to, because we're right there. I feel like it's worth talking about. The reason this stuff has become a blind spot for me, it's not just like, I didn't pay attention. Like, I know that this stuff is significant towards the American songbook, like the culture.
But also the moving culture forward.
Yes, absolutely. There's something, it's like the little brat in me. There was like, you grew up with boomer parents.
Yes.
And all I hear about, not even from my boomer parents, but just like the boomer culture looming large as a young person, that this is the most important stuff that ever existed. And I resisted the Beatles for decades because, like we talked about in the last episode about, you made a joke about like Bill Burr, what a great special he had. Just like having the laziest opinion ever by choosing the most like well-liked thing.
Yeah.
It's so much work for me to find a personal connection to any of this shit because you go into fucking Target and there's like
my sister for
Beatles
Christmas
underoos.
My sister for Christmas last year got me Abbey Road, an album like on vinyl that came with a t-shirt from Target. And I loved it. It was great. But here's the thing to remember to put all that in context. It's like a Jackson Pollock painting, right? It's everywhere. But you have to think how insane for the times it was.
And I understand that. I intellectually, in my brain box, I get it. But it wasn't until, this is so weird, it wasn't until the Get Back documentary,
which is unreal.
And it's
in the which we will get to in the rock and roll documentary pantheon.
And it's the moment, the moment I'm talking about, when Paul figures out Get Back.
It's unreal.
That specific moment was like, that's a young guy. That's a young guy who's talented and he's figuring something out, and and figuring out something creative is kind of like a dumb looking process.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a moment of inspiration, and sometimes it just you see him like trying to squeeze the last bit of toothpaste out of that tube. You're like, it's here. It's fucking here.
I know it's in it.
It's like passing a stone. It's just gonna like, Jessica is like a good shit. You need to get the idea out. And that's when I was like, oh, the Beatles are people who made music.
Yes.
And it wasn't until that exact moment that I was like, oh, now I want to listen to the Beatles.
And boy, is it great.
It's great.
And like you see it change, you know what I mean? That's kind of the difference between the Beatles and the band. The Beatles, you got to see the whole arc. The band was just in the background and then just kind of showed up fully formed. So they were like played in all, and the documentary kind of tells you that they were like road comics like myself who like were on the road just grinding as journeymen for years, and then they finally got their moment in the spotlight, like the song, and they were already like in their late 30s, and they just knew, they were all so good at what they do. They just blow the fucking doors off of it. I mean, there's
tight.
3 of them who could be the lead singer in any other band.
When you see a drummer singing, something special's happening.
Levon Helm is the coolest motherfucker to ever walk the face of the earth. Like,
he does seem really cool.
You want to know what I love about him? Not only is he has a good voice, and he gives like, I'm an artist and I'm a man. He's kind of got that like, I'm a warrior poet like kind of thing that is like, oh, this guy could hang out with my dad and me. You know, he's that like, he's the right in the middle.
I totally see that.
He's where the Venn diagram meets. Like, he knows how to fix a car, and he would punch somebody out for talking. Like, they're talking about women on the road, and he's so classy that he just goes, I thought you're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, he's that gentleman. And he's the only one of them who's American. They're all Canadian, and he's Southern, and he brings that to the band, and so they are an American band, even though they're Canadian.
Can we talk about that moment real quick about like I'm sorry, I love Scorsese, but he just comes off like such a dweeb of like, what, can we talk about the women on the road? It's like, shut up, nerd.
And that's the fun thing about watching this too, the way Scorsese kind of inserts himself in this documentary a little bit, because him and Robbie Roberts, the guy who wrote all the music, are like best friends, and Robbie Roberts scores all the Martin Scorsese movies for the rest of his life after this.
I had no idea.
So he's his like sound guy, and so they're buddies. And Martin Scorsese is like this like nerd artist dude who's like adjacent to something that he knows is very cool.
And by the way, the one I identified with the most in this movie is Martin Scorsese. Like a nerd being like, so what's it like kissing a girl?
And it's funny because then you have his best friend is Robbie Roberts, who's the one in the band who's the driving force behind it. He's the guy,
handsome motherfucker,
writes the songs and like is the guy who's pushing, but he's the one you can tell who wants to be famous the most. Like in his fits,
the
like
way he dresses.
Scarf. And we'll get into that in a second, but like there's that interesting thing. Okay, so my number 1 for best performance is Bob Dylan. I think Bob Dylan is...
I feel ridiculous leaving that off because even as someone who doesn't... I have like no connection to Bob Dylan. Watching it is like, what the fuck is going on?
100%. And not only is Bob Dylan... You can tell... You see all these famous people come up. You see Neil Young. You see... at the end, they have a Beatle and a Rolling Stone come out, and they're just there for like a second. They like get in on the jam. And Bob Dylan, all these people who are legends get 1 song. Bob Dylan, 3 songs. Because he's also their guy. Like, he's the guy who pulled them out. Like, there's another great documentary. And this is all the rabbit holes you can go down. So this is an amazing documentary, and it's really interesting because the way it's structured. It's like interviews, and everyone's shot in a different place, and every outfit is different, and every outfit is fucking incredible that the band's wearing. And it's like them in the studio, them in like what's supposed to be the house at Big Pink where they recorded all the records, and the kitchen kind of set up. It's like I would say what is the first music video, those like 3 intercut music videos, but really what's the first music video is Subterranean Homesick Blues, which is a Bob Dylan song, which is in a D.H. Pennebaker documentary, which invented cinema verite, which is like when cameras got small enough that they could take a camera on the road. And it's this tour documentary of Bob Dylan. And when they're doing it, Robbie Roberts is in his band. So there's this great, and then there's another documentary called No Direction Home that Martin Scorsese did. That's a 2-part documentary about Bob Dylan going through this tour when he goes electric and how the people in England and around the world treat him like shit for going electric.
I've seen clips of this.
And
there's post-show interviews.
And those guys are his backing band for that.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's incredible. So there's
I can see how at 20, when you have nothing but, if you're an obsessive person, and you have nothing but time on your hands, it's
drinking and figuring out who all these people are and why they're important. And then like Bob Dylan and his connection to, James Baldwin. And like, there's just like, it opens up so many roads in culture and art and cinema. And it's where all of my things touch. And where we go next from this is style.
So wait, really quick. So we are still relatively new friends, and
yes,
and I feel like I've shown my hand a little bit in some like kind of like capital D dorky things of I've made like aliens references, or like I've played video games. I have a feeling you like a little bit of video games. You're not like
I'm very little video game guy.
Like
I'm
you never
Tony Hawk, Cool Borders.
Yeah.
Super Mario 1 and 2.
Yeah. So like
Tetris.
you've never played like Final Fantasy 7.
Maybe at a friend's house. It's the fighting one, right?
Not even it's like playing a novel. It's a
Okay.
role playing game.
I never did like the RPG.
Yes, exactly.
Kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
Yeah. So I've been wondering, like, does JF have like a classically sanctioned like nerd thing, like genre thing? And I'm realizing it's probably this stuff.
It's this stuff.
Like if you were 20 now, you'd probably be super into Marvel. I mean, the
oh god, that's so depressing.
but
It's wild to me.
as an obsessive 20-year-old, you're gonna be like,
That's
oh well,
the
in the
thing-
comic books.
And not to be old man yells at sky, but that's the thing that breaks my heart about culture now.
Yeah, no,
is the fact that I understand there's like fucking Brat and like Lemonade, and there are things that still tell stories and that are very good, you know. But I think that's part of why Taylor Swift is so big, is because there isn't a lot of stuff that has depth, you know. And that is like a world. So it's the only thing they have to glom onto.
Yeah.
Where like the band was one of 70 things like that at the time.
True, yeah.
And this documentary has all of them in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so Bob Dylan is my number one performance. And also honorable mention for performance, the Coke Booger in Neil Young's nose.
I read about this.
Yeah.
And how they're like this, and I've identified with someone who works in cleaning up things in post.
They
like,
spent so much money trying to get the Coke Booger out of his nose in a time when there was not digital editing.
it's someone just painting a blob of paint on a frame.
Frame by frame.
Yeah.
And they still, the rock was so big, it's still in there.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh, you can still see it. It's just like on the corner of his nose.
Oh, shit, God.
Yeah. So it's incredible. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So it's all these different angles that I love and all these different people. So from there, I will go out of all of the people in the guest performers, who was the best dressed and who was the worst dressed.
Oh man,
Top 2 best dressed, top 2 worst dressed.
challenging question. I'm gonna
Of the guests.
of just the guests. Unfortunately, worst dressed is Van Morrison. I think
Okay.
I think that's a stupid outfit to
Yeah,
wear.
yeah.
It's pretty.
I will also agree. I think Van Morrison is the worst dressed.
Yeah, I think pretty poorly. Man,
Can I give my number 2?
yeah.
Neil Diamond.
Oh, Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond
Yes, absolutely.
is so interesting in this documentary, because I remember when I was young having that moment like, wait, is Neil Diamond cool? And then I rewatched this documentary for this and I was like, no, he's not.
He's not cool.
But there is an interesting thing. You can tell he was at one point, and this is the moment Neil Diamond jumps the shark. He shows up with all these genuinely talented, authentic people who were so much themselves, and he, similar to Robbie Roberts, is trying to be cool, and it shows that he
This
is
is
not.
1976.
77.
70. Oh,
So this is literally like, he was the
Is disco happening at this
girl,
point?
I'll be a woman soon. Like the first Neil Diamond records are good.
I was doing some research on this because I'm like, isn't Neil Diamond like a lounge Vegas actor?
Yes.
So I was confusing a little bit with Tom Jones, but like
They're all in the same kind of ballpark.
It was so weird to see I thought like a Vegas crooner, like, and then like Neil Young. What the fuck is happening?
Yes. And like where he drops in the lineup, it just feels strange. You're like,
Very strange.
Why is Neil Diamond in this?
Yeah.
But they're friends, and he was like a big deal at the time, but you can see how like it's just kind of not cool.
It's not cool.
And you could tell probably was at some point, but this is what happens when you go corporate,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So clearly worst dressed.
Yes.
I think. Okay, I got my 2 best dressed. I have an honorable mention.
Okay, let's go.
Best dressed is
Start with your honorable mention.
honorable mention is Dr. John.
Dr. John, I don't agree. I think it's not a great, it is and isn't a great outfit. It fits his personality, but it's like, you wouldn't catch me wearing it.
I think it's a bold move.
It's a bold move.
and I think he put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
And I have to respect that effort.
I'm going to zoom in for the folks at home to remember the Dr. John outfit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I do kind of like it. It does. Speaking of Vegas acts, it does kind of feel like
It's dirty New Orleans lounge singer.
Well, I was gonna say this. Look, if you told me this was Post Malone in Vegas right now,
Oh my God.
it'd be like, whoa, motherfucker looks tight. That's a great.
Oh my God, Dr. John and Post Malone, I totally see it. Oh, this brings me back to something we'll get into it in 1 second, but yeah.
Yeah. So, it's depending. You can ask me this question in 20 minutes, and I'll change the order. But I think right now I'm gonna have to say number 2 is Joni Mitchell.
No, Joni Mitchell is also my number 2.
Because she just looks radiant and so beautiful, and is such a welcome breath of fresh air and like a bunch of sweaty dudes.
Yeah, look
with
at her.
bad
She's
teeth.
just so incredible. I think this is the moment when this is the moment when turquoise becomes the thing. You know what I mean? Like this song,
What Joni Mitchell did for turquoise.
this is when you buy stock in turquoise. Joni Mitchell wore this. I've been living in New Mexico, hanging out with Georgia O'Keeffe outfit, and I wrote this song, and that's totally it. Like this vibe is like I wrote this song in Georgia O'Keeffe's kitchen.
Oh my God,
you know what I mean?
it works.
Perfect.
She just looks beautiful, and she just seeing someone who looks like they took a shower
amongst this rattled group of alcoholics.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And then and number 1 is Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. It is the best outfit of the whole thing, and not only is it it's just like of the guests. Where is it? Where there's 2 of them. So that's Joni looking incredible. And then, where's my mouse?
Oh, you're on the left screen.
I'm on the left screen. Oh, I didn't realize that's what it was.
Yep.
Okay, here's Bob Dylan. You can't beat it. It's a perfect leather jacket that's not a biker jacket.
It's a perfect leather jacket.
It's a cool shirt, big lapel, and the hat. The band is the band that made the big hat a thing, but Bob Dylan is pulling off a hat that it's like, and just like a pair of Levi's 501s, you can't fucking beat it.
I gotta say, everything about this outfit, it should not work.
Also, it's long hair Dylan. Pubic beard Dylan.
Oh my God, the beard. There's so many things genuinely wrong about this.
And it all works.
It all works somehow.
And
if you move to the left, that other photo of him.
Oh, that's what I was going to go to now if I can find. Oh, yeah, perfect. That's the one.
Like, is this Zach De La Rocca?
Okay, so this is my hot take of this episode. Watching The Last Waltz, seeing Bob Dylan play, and they shoot him in this side profile of him in this outfit with the beard and the singing and his voice and where his voice is at this time. My hot take is Timothée Chalamet should not be playing Bob Dylan.
Agree.
Adam Sandler should be playing Bob Dylan. And not only, and it should have been an Adam Sandler playing Bob Dylan directed by Paul Thomas Anderson biopic.
Oh, well, everything about that sounds amazing. Everything about that sounds amazing.
I don't need a glossy Timothée Chalamet. I want Bob Dylan, like, after he got hit by the motorcycle, or when he got hit on the motorcycle, figuring it out, living in Woodstock with these guys, like day in the life of Bob Dylan, or like Adam Sandler playing older Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bear Jew now.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't tell me there's like a side. I should have found a side shot. But there's like a side shot in the documentary when Dylan is singing where I'm like, holy shit, that's Adam Sandler. Even the voices.
Who's this cool rabbi?
Even the voices are kind of similar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like where Timothée Chalamet doesn't sound like it.
No, he doesn't. And okay,
Adam Sandler as Bob Dylan? Come on. Directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and
clearly
it would have
not
this
now,
feel.
but like it would have worked.
It would have worked.
It would have worked
if when AI gets good enough. You know what I'm doing? I'm having Adam Sandler play Bob Dylan, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And if you look at The Last Waltz and the tone and the texture, and Martin Scorsese is such a big influence on Paul Thomas Anderson that it would have made perfect sense to be like, just rip off the aesthetic of The Last Waltz.
Yeah. All that could have worked. Okay, I have to Wait, I wrote it down in my notes because there was something. This when they all okay, when they all get together for a big group sing along.
Yes.
And you see all these outfits at once on stage.
Yes.
I wrote down. It looks like the Salvation Army singers. It like is this?
You're like, are we raising money for some kind of shelter right now?
It looks like everyone showed up for a different concert.
Yes.
It is such drastically different looks.
But that's also what's so cool. Like, you can tell these people all have their own world. Hold on. I'm going to zoom in.
To see Neil Young wearing that, and then Robbie Robertson doing this sort of like Mick Jagger light.
Yes. Oh my God, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah, here they all are right here. It's kind of a zoomed in. I took like a screenshot of a screenshot. That's as far in as we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can just see it. They're all in there.
It's a wild arrangement of, but like if if every single outfit was taken out of context from the show and then put on like a backdrop, and this was some label's fall winter look.
Oh, 100%.
Everything does work together.
So here's the thing about the band that I love. The Beatles, who I love very much, went through big phases. The band had two. That's it. And they were always just kind of the best dressed rock and roll band. Like, look at this shit. You can't tell me this isn't every guy right now, every band in Silver Lake.
If you told me this was the National, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because look at these guys. They're fucking just well-dressed, cool fucking studs, you know? Like, look at this.
Is this a press photo for the Blammo podcast?
We should have Jesse on, by the way. But like, yeah, they're just cool as shit. And this was their like, this is, I guess we'll do like something a little bit more traditional
Tin type photos
for an album cover because we're like pretty American. But like, they're just in my
Panhandling
opinion,
for gold.
and it's like timeless. But then you like we're talking about, you kind of look at Neil Diamond and you're just like, no, you're like, this just doesn't work.
I don't think he read the
memo,
the Evite.
Yeah,
I don't think he understood it. He glanced at it. It appeared on his calendar, and he's like, "Okay, I'll show up."
Yeah, like look at how fucking cool these guys are. You know what I mean? Also, best and worst jacket.
This was a weird one. Who was this dude?
This guy's name is of the band. He is not Rick Danko. That's the other guy. Richard Molina.
Okay. It really creeped me out, the entire documentary.
Oh, really? He's my favorite. He's kind of like, or not my favorite. He's of the guys in the band, he's my third favorite, but he's like this guy. He's a Muppet.
He looks like Jim Henson. That's absolutely true.
He's a human Muppet.
When Scorsese asked his creepy little question about women on the road, and he was just like, "We love it." He would just come,
but like that shot of him like on the couch in the red, and he's talking about the name. He was like, "We wanted to be the Crackers." It's just like. It's kind of like Jesus, but also like if you were friends with this guy, this is the guy who you wake up and he's in your house drunk.
Yeah, this is why this guy makes me anxious.
See, I as a recovering alcoholic, this guy is my boy. Like this is the guy I want to sit next to at the meeting.
I see what you mean. As someone who didn't drink alcohol until college,
that's wild.
Yeah,
I was already tending bar.
Oh my god. I lived a very sober lifestyle.
Yeah. I was like blacking out at bars at 16.
Jesus Christ.
I know. It's fun.
I was playing Final Fantasy VII at 16.
Venn diagrams do not meet.
No, yeah.
The teen ones.
Very different.
That's so funny. So, where the fuck? Okay, so of the guys in the band, who do you think is the best dressed? In this documentary.
I actually want to say Robbie Robertson.
Okay, can I show you a photo? I think Robbie Robertson is an incredible dresser, but the shirt with the scarf thing throws me off.
It's a little weird. Actually, let me be more specific. I think he wears clothes the best.
That's a great take.
He looks great in that thing.
Yes,
he does. I don't think he does not pull off the scarf. I don't think it's a great styling, but
so these are there's a Vanity Fair article about the making of this documentary, and there's this photo of Robbie Robertson from the backstage the night of, and you can see the suit hanging up, and you see what he's wearing. If he would, and he wears that when he comes back out at the end, he's got that sweater on or one like it. This is so much fucking cooler than the I'm trying to be a rock star. This just is a rock star. Like, this is the
I say no to the hoodie. I say
I love it.
In general, I mean, honestly, this goes back to...
This is 2000 culture.
This goes back to UCB for me, is that, like, seeing a hoodie and a plaid shirt, I'm like, put on your fucking Converse and do the Harold, asshole. I don't want to see improv from you.
But this is where it comes
I prefer the onstage. And also, I will say that there is not a hat in this movie that is not
a hit.
Perfect.
This is like the
rumpled or like perfectly untouched. Like his like how Dylan kept that hat white is amazing to me.
The Lumineers don't exist without this documentary. There is not a hat for the Lumineers to wear if there isn't this. This is their whole vibe. This is Mumford and Son. This is all of it.
This is a hat band.
But they have the goods to back it up.
Oh no, absolutely. But they are. I mean, like they are maybe the first hat band.
Yeah, my favorite dresser is Richard.
Rich Danko.
Danko, who is the guy. That moment when they cut in the music video part of The Last Waltz, when he takes his verse in the wait, is like there's this like camera swing. He pops out, the light hits him, and he's doing the rocking thing. You're like, this guy was the most mess and the coolest at the same time. He's the sweetheart of the band.
You know what? There is. Wait, I want to see what I wrote down. What song it was?
Oh, I did it again.
Oh, because it's... Sorry.
We still
recording. Yeah,
oh, great. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I think here's the issue is that it's called hot corners. If you throw to a far corner, it might lock it up. I realize
I'm trying to find my... Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
There. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
And just click into that.
Okay. I have like 2 more things, maybe 3.
Okay. All I was going to say is that hearing Rich Danko sing Stage Fright.
Oh my God.
It kind of sounded like a Ben Folds song.
Oh yeah.
And I went through a Ben Folds phase.
I know you did. You're wearing those glasses. I also went through a Ben Folds phase,
really?
And I still am. I still listen to Ben Folds. It still rocks.
It still works. It still works.
Holds up.
Yeah.
I almost got to open for him, and the pandemic killed it. I was going to open for him on tour. And
cool.
I was like in the mix of people. Like his stage manager was trying to get him to take me out, and then the pandemic fucked it up. But his book is great. If you get a chance, my recommend for the end of this episode, I'll just do it now. Besides this documentary, is the Ben Folds autobiography, but the audiobook. It's incredible.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really well written and vivid.
So what else do we have to talk about here?
Okay, so these are the things because we're getting kind of deep in the ep. Two of my I want to talk about the graphic design of this movie.
Yeah,
because it has 2 big graphic design moments in it. One, it starts with Sorry, I'll get a hold of it eventually. It starts with, this film should be played loud on the screen when you're watching.
It's fantastic.
It's perfect. And someone put it on merch, of
that's
course.
Great. Yeah.
And I'm going to buy it. It's $20, 100% in. It's on Etsy if anybody else wants to wear it. And it's so good. It's simple. It's like everything I love about the 70s and making art. Like, he watched a Godard movie, saw some things. This film's supposed to be played loud. Kind of like how the Beatles kind of wrote the first punk rock song. The band is folk rock, but they're fucking punk rock. You see these guys and it's like, this is where the Strokes get their style. This is, like...
I see it.
It's all in there. And it starts with this film should be played loud, and it's so great.
It is great. It's a great way to start a movie.
And similar to the last episode we were talking about, like, simple design. It's just like, it's like that. This is an album by the Black Keys. And so I was looking for the frame from the film of that, and I found that shirt, and I loved. So of course that sent me down a merch rabbit hole, right? And I found these incredible vintage shirts from the show. Like,
This is very cool.
And these are like $1,000 each on eBay. But there's no reason I can't just rip this. But like they have, for the Last Waltz documentary, they have the Dylan hat and shirt with the Dylan guitar.
Holy shit, they do.
Which is also crazy to be like, hey, it's the band. And they have the band logo, but just remember Bob Dylan?
I mean, that's they know what stuck out for people.
But like I'm 100% just gonna pull that and put it on it. You know what I mean? And people have like the buttons. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the logo of the Last Waltz.
The typography is gorgeous. And my first thought was
this is the French poster. And I like this one a lot. And it's the way it like scrolls down the screen.
Yeah.
And as it's scrolling down the screen, that like waltz is playing, which is like also fun because it's like Martin Scorsese being like, hey, don't forget I'm Italian.
Yeah. I love the typography on this. I should have researched who did it because it feels.
I mean, you can Google it now.
Well, it might take some digging because I feel like it might be. It reminds me of. I hope I'm getting this guy's name right. Herb Lublin, who is a very famous typographer who did a lot of like clean, gorgeous, swashy kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's so good.
It's quite beautiful.
It's so good and so clean, and it just holds up. And so then here's the Criterion comeback. And like, look at this fucking Criterion cover. It's like them on the soundstage, which
it's gorgeous.
It's perfect.
That's really
it's like
cool.
A Martin Scorsese film, The Last Waltz. It's them, and there's the moment with him being like the maestro. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That's great.
And it's fun because it's like, it's incredible because they shoot the film, which is the concert. Then they did the interviews after they shot the concert film.
Oh.
Because there's like a moment where you can see like he's interviewing Rich and he's like, what are you doing now? And he like cuts to him like playing a song that he's like making because it's like him in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
And then these things are shot on a soundstage with the staple singers in the are like they're like a steal a moment, but they're not in the concert film. So like, and the concert film we didn't even really talk about, but it's shot so crazy good.
It really is.
And it's so alive, and it's basically three different kinds of films put into this one film to tell the story of this band.
You know who I left off the best dressed list?
Who?
Muddy Waters.
Oh yeah, Muddy Waters in the suit, and that's
looks
another
great.
thing
I love
too.
that he showed up in a suit.
Muddy Waters is one of those guys where in this too, where like you see him and you're like, oh, I guess I'm going down this rabbit hole now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I wrote my own version of in my first movie I ever wrote, the opening line of the movie is what makes a man, and it's totally like my play on the Muddy Waters thing.
Yeah.
And it was like a poem. Speaking of poems, almost forgot, what other movies have 2 breaks for poets to come out?
Yeah, that doesn't really happen
like,
anymore.
This is like the
or even live music anymore.
I mean, this is the 70s. Like, yeah, of course we have poet friends.
And they clap after it.
Yeah, and of course they're gonna get in and do a joke and do it.
And one's like a funny poem.
Yeah, and that one's the bad one.
Yeah,
the good one is that like weird churchy Dada one.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, this is just like Dada, and it's like beautiful, and it's like almost like a soliloquy. I don't know if that's the right word.
Wait, is this
the first guy who comes out? Then there's the guy who comes out dressed and he feels like kind of like a clown, but he's wearing that French workwear jacket.
Oh, yes.
I like this. And that might be the only hat that doesn't work in the whole documentary.
You might be right.
Got that, like,
but that's the one I like
hat.
too. That was like kind of funny.
I like the other one more.
Oh, I think I like
because I'm kind of a serious person.
Oh, yeah, maybe. And I think it's funny because you're the comedian. You're a professional comedian, and I kind of like, I put jokes in there.
Yeah.
But that's like my entire job is trying to put jokes in places, and your entire job is like, yes, it's funny, but what if there's some on the bones here?
If there's some actual emotion in it.
Yeah.
So this is the board.
I will to kind of maybe help wrap this up.
Okay.
I understand now why you would want to talk about this movie, even though I don't think I'm a conversion. I don't think I've converted on like the music of the band.
Yeah.
But this documentary is a bit of a living mood board for
1,000%.
For not just that era, but for each and every person in this movie, in this documentary, to have such a distinct background and style and thing that they came up through, and then went on to do we want to do something else. Like there is this weird like
you're catching all of these people at a very interesting time in their career too. It's kind of
and Scorsese himself too.
Yeah, it's kind of the end of Joni Mitchell's career, or not the end, but it's the end of her like being big famous singer songwriter.
And I think Muddy Waters
Bob Dylan's
passed not too long after, only a few years.
Yeah, and Bob Dylan's about to go do the religious thing, and this is like the just getting out of the Desire tour, which is, you should watch Rolling Thunder. It's a Bob Dylan documentary about like one of the weirdest Bob Dylan tours ever. That's incredible. And that was kind of part of Bob Dylan's comeback, was this like late 70s thing. You know, Van Morrison, I don't know what's happening there. Neil Diamond, like we said, he's starting to jump the shark. Eric Clapton, we didn't really talk about Eric Clapton that much. Eric Clapton is on my best dress list. I think the Clapton outfit is a great outfit.
Oh, he does look like a little Jay Crewish.
Yes.
I
have it on here, I think.
Is he wearing like a sweater vest or something?
He's wearing a like similar, like a white shirt and a...
He looks like smart dressed. I have a hard time with Clapton because he's been an absolute nut job in the last few years.
Has he? Well,
he's like super anti-vax and
I must have forgot to send over the Eric Clapton photo. Oh no,
is it the top
there it
right?
is. Hold on, I see it.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Here's the Clapton, and this is just a great outfit. Similar, it's very similar to the Dylan outfit. It's kind of like Dylan and Dr. John put their outfits together. You know what I mean? Like he's got the ruffled shirt, he's got the just jeans. It's what do you call that material? Suede tuxedo jacket, ruffled shirt, good haircut, good beards. There's a lot of the haircuts are like on the fence on a lot of these people. It's like, is this good or is this bad?
Yeah.
But we don't have time to get into the haircuts. You can go make your own haircut decisions. But I think the thing about Clapton, and we didn't really talk about it much in this, is you know how you're like, I don't really feel this, I don't get into this? That is Eric Clapton for me in this, where he plays guitar and I'm like, this is incredible. It's like Fish, the band for me. My fiance wife loves them.
Really?
Loves.
She's a Fish head and you're a Deadhead?
And I'm a Deadhead. And I will go see Fish anytime. Someone's like, you want to see Fish? I'm like, hell yeah. They're incredible live. If you put their music on for me, I would be like, why are we listening to a song about coconuts? Or like llamas or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not for me live. It's like seeing, like, I think Eric Clapton is a master at what he does. I can tell it's incredible. When he hits those guitar solos, I'm like, this is really good, but it's not enough for me to make me care. Because I'm a songs guy. I like the songs. I like the emotion. I love stage fright. I love the weight. Like, you can feel it. Like, Eric Clapton's just like, I want to be the greatest guitar player of all time.
Yeah, which is ultimately, I don't think super interesting.
Yeah.
Just playing an instrument extremely well.
Yeah. But
it's like not enough. It gets you close, but it's
and all these other guys, you can feel the emotion when they sing and they play. Like Levon Helm singing and playing the drums, you're like, this is the coolest man who's ever walked the face of the earth.
I did wake up and went down to Nazareth was in my head immediately.
Yeah.
And it kind of like...
Yeah. And now you'll be out in public.
I kind of fuck with him. I kind of fuck with him.
The night they drove Old Dixie down, like... Despite the message, he is a Southern dude and it's about the Civil War. But as he's singing that, you're just like, holy fuck.
Yeah, he's got...
And Cripple Creek, like up on... Like you'll be at... Like they don't play band music out a lot. You hear the weight a lot. But when Cripple Creek comes on and you're somewhere with Cripple Creek, you're like, oh fuck, it's Cripple Creek.
I'm not completely there, but
you don't have to be.
I feel like there's an on-ramp for me. Maybe. We'll see.
Well, don't worry, because I'm going to make you watch 7 more Bob Dylan documentaries over the course of this podcast.
I think in general, roots rock is a tough thing for me. It's very guilty until proven innocent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I love Wilco, and I love...
Yeah, it was on when I got here. And you don't have Wilco without the band.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And I like Jack White's new album.
Oh, I haven't listened to it.
It's like it's Jack White. He's been doing the exact same thing forever.
Yeah.
And then like... I can't open a can of this can of worms just yet because we got to wrap this up. But like,
I mean, we actually don't, but you kind of do.
Yeah, the affectation of like this stuff of like the character of roots rock, because like in Jack in the way
like how Jack White kind of puts it on as an outfit.
Yeah, well, hold on. There's a lyric in a new song he has on the first album that I want to read just because, okay, I think I need a tailor. This happens to me all the time. I'm cursing like a drunken sailor. I'll trade a nickel for a dime anytime. I'll trade a nickel for a dime anytime. That is not a man who is acknowledging current currency and how it, like,
Yeah, he's trying to be old timey.
yeah, he's trying to be old timey in the same way Wilco is a Chicago band that will like I think Chuck Klosterman points this out in some podcast I listen to of like didn't get much learning. Like, dude, you're from Chicago. Didn't get much learning. That's not your Chicago, dude. Like, it's It's not. It's an affectation of like a rural Southern thing that a lot of recording artists can kind of like put on.
And that's that nice point when they talk about that kind of rural music mixing with the Southern music, and it's like country music, and that's how rock and roll is born. And then Muddy Waters comes out. That's another part of this documentary where you're like, there's a bunch of history lessons in this thing.
Yeah. I'm not uncharmed by this entire experience. I'll say that.
I will say this, and we could probably wrap it up with this. Fuck. Okay, two things, and then I'm going to wrap it up. The last thing is, there's this photo of them up playing football, and they talk about how they all lived at Woodstock, and there's that like shot of them in the kitchen, and this is the dream. This is every artist's dream. I'm gonna get a cabin in the woods, go with a bunch of my friends, and make a bunch of art. Like, they were the original that. Like, them and Bob Dylan went and they made a bunch of famous Bob Dylan records, and they made the Basement Tape records, and they were the original let's move up to the Hudson Valley. They are. That's how that started.
Really?
They started the whole, like, let's live in Woodstock, let's live in Kingston. Like, that's them. And they're talking about...
That's really interesting.
And they talk about the let's get away, chop wood, tinker around, write songs, smoke the pipe.
Fix a patio door.
Fix a patio door. They are the original let's get the fuck out of the city and make something real.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll give you that, the band.
Yeah.
I'll give them a lot. They deserve. They do deserve a lot.
And I will end with this about them. Cocaine is the original Ozempic. You watch this documentary, everyone is high out of their minds on cocaine. Rail thin. Everyone looks phenomenal. You see most of these guys later in their life after they stop doing blow, it's rough.
I looked up like, what are they doing now?
Most of them are dead. But like, you literally, it's like, this is product placement for cocaine without ever putting cocaine in the photo, except for Neil Young's nose. Like, touring in the 70s was the original diet. Like, I tour now. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I'm kind of overweight, and that's because I eat American food on the road. These guys weren't eating food. They were playing for 3.5 hours every night and just blow and drinking. And it's the original Ozempic.
Truly a wonder drug.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, okay. The band. Where am I with them? You've warmed my cold heart to this, and I wasn't against it, but like I'm way more open to the band as this. I have a feeling this is going to stick with me longer than I am willing to admit.
Yeah, and it's going to stick with you, and maybe it'll be like, there's now you're going to go down a Dr. John rabbit hole. One
of these guys, we'll see who rises to the top.
Dr. John is a pretty good one. Dr. John's a good going grocery shopping record. Put it in the earbuds. Gumbo, you just walk around. It's fun, like New Orleans, like piano stuff. Songs like Stack of Lee. Great. I wanted to open one of my stand-up specials at one point with Stack of Lee. Yeah.
This was a lot. This was a lot of information.
I know.
This is really good. How it's using Fig Jam is great until we fuck it up somehow, but we'll get better at this.
100%. And also, Fig Jam, at some point, you should be our sponsor. And then also, I guess it's they want to do a deal with me, so I'll just mention them now at the end, and they might be our sponsor at some point. I'll put a promo code by the time this comes out. Home Exchange. I love Home Exchange. You don't know about home exchange?
When do I leave my house?
Good point. So you know how I went and lived in Paris for a month, and I do it pretty much every year. I use there's an app called Home Exchange, and it's like Airbnb, except you just swap apartments with people.
Oh, I've heard of this.
So I
Okay.
swap with people in Paris every year for a month.
Oh, and they live in like Culver. That's great for them.
Yeah, and like when I was on tour, I would let people stay in my apartment, and you can build up points when you're gone. So during the Olympics, I had a giant 3-bedroom, multi-million-dollar loft apartment that I lived in Paris, like floor-to-ceiling windows, like
Holy
32nd
shit.
floor. My parents came and stayed with me for a week and a half. Catherine came. It was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And the French love the west side of LA.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if they're actually a sponsor yet. We'll figure it out.
figure it out.
But I'm gonna have a code at some point. So and then I get points. Thank you. But it's my favorite thing ever.
I wish I could use it.
You can if you guys want to go take a trip. You can let somebody stay here.
I don't know. I can't emotionally.
No.
No, I don't think I could. Letting someone in our house with like our kid here. It's a weird trust thing.
I get that, but here's the thing: it's a lot of other families on there.
Oh,
So it's like I stayed in a house where I like 2 of the rooms were like kids' rooms, and they're staying in your house. You're staying in their house. They're not going to do anything weird. They
will. People, yes, they absolutely will.
They're going to fuck in your bed. That's it.
That's weird enough for me.
No.
That's weird enough for me.
If you want strangers fucking in your bed and a free place to stay in London,
Call me. I'll fuck in your bed. You already did your rec for the episode. I thought I had one. Oh, real quick. This will probably be an episode at one point. I had a good cry this morning because from the children's show, Corey Carson.
okay.
If you're a parent, and you will be a parent one day soon, there is a real tiered of like from shit to fantastic children's animation now. The shit is the YouTube stuff where it's just like trucks moving left and right and it's like poison for your child's brain. There's the mid-range shit, which is like dog truck dinosaurs build house boats or something. It's just like
AI content. To
yeah,
keep
it's just
kids
like
busy.
algorithm. Netflix just commissioned a bunch of algorithmic crap because kids are gonna love it. And then there are select shows which I'm sure you're aware of. Your Blueies.
Yes, I nephews very aware of the Bluey.
Corey Carson is a really beautifully animated show. What's so odd about this is that it started out as a toy line, and then this studio of like post Pixar people, like I'm imagining the way this happened is that like they were like, hey, the company's called VTech. They make all kinds of kids toys. These are just cars with faces on them. I'm imagining like, hey, we want to license this, give it to this Pixar studio, and they've made this incredibly charming, genuinely funny show that sometimes has such heartfelt moments. But the weird thing about it is like we grew up in a sort of Transformers era.
Yeah.
Imagine it would be it's the equivalent.
Transformers with emotions.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if like the Transformers show was actually about like
Teaching
like-
your child how to be a good man.
Like no, or just like an experience like what's his Optimus Prime? What if there's an episode of Transformers where Optimus Prime is just learning like the grief of losing a parent? Just like Jesus Christ. So I had a good cry this
Not
morning.
only has the tape left my heart, so has
So has my father.
yeah.
So yeah, go Corey Carson. Genuinely a good kids show.
All right.
Try it out. This is a long one we did, but we have some technical things to edit out.
Yeah, I think it doesn't. I mean, it's on YouTube. People are going to have it on in the background. I think
thousands and thousands of people.
I honestly, I think however long they are is how long they are.
We're gonna cut it there. Thanks everybody.
Thank you guys.
We'll I don't know what we're doing next, but we'll have something again soon.
Yeah, I'll see you in the new year.
I'll see you in the new year.
But all these will be dropped in the new year, so
Or sooner. We don't know.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. End of the year.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Bye.
Hanukkah.